So our goal today, our mission is to give you everything, the complete picture on Lingluo. We're going deep. Her best build, the modules, the shells you absolutely need, those powerful passives.
And where she really shines.
Right, which content she dominates in.
Yeah.
And importantly, we'll look at the pros and the cons. Got to be balanced.
Absolutely. No character is perfect.
Now let's get into the really interesting part, the skills. This is what makes Lingluo Lingluo.
This is where the magic happens. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Her kit is just incredibly well designed for support.
Let's bring them down. Skill 1 first, Whirlpool. 0 cooldown, so it's her basic.
Right. Whirlpool, max level, it does okay damage to one enemy, about 240%. Nice little bonus. But the real meat is the healing. It heals the 2 allies with the lowest health percentage, and it heals them for 15% of their max health. So it's smart targeting, hitting those most in need.
Okay, targeted healing on a basic? That's already good, but there's more, right? That Rockstar passive thing.
Yes, the Rockstar passive integration. This is what elevates skill 1. Before each heal from this skill, there's a 75% chance.
High chance.
Very high chance, yeah. To do one of 2 things. If the target has a debuff, it purifies 1 debuff. Gone.
Before the heal lands.
Before the heal lands. Crucial timing. Cleanses something nasty, then heals them up. If the target has no debuffs, then it has that same 75% chance to apply Whale Prayer for 2 turns.
Whale Prayer. Reminding me.
It's a heal over time. Recovers 5% of their max health when their turn starts. And the really cool part, it stacks up to 5 times.
5 stacks, so that's potentially 25% max health recovery per turn.
Potentially, yes. It provides amazing sustained healing. So skill 1 is damage, targeted heal, and either a cleanse or a high T. Incredibly versatile for a basic attack.
And leveling it up improves all of that. Damage, healing, the chance, the duration.
Yep. Improves the numbers across the board. Maxing skill 1 early is definitely worthwhile for that consistent utility.
Okay, that's a powerful basic. What about skill 2, Echo Symphony? 3-turn cooldown.
Echo Symphony. This one's an area of effect powerhouse. First, it heals all allies for 16% of their max health. Good team-wide burst recovery.
Nice. Covers everyone.
But wait, there's more. It also extends the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn.
Whoa, okay. Buff extension. That sounds really significant.
It is. Think about extending attack buffs, defense buffs, immunity from someone else. It keeps your team powered up and protected for longer. It synergizes beautifully with other supports or self-buffing units.
So it's not just healing, it's amplifying your team's advantages.
Exactly. And it provides an additional heal, 20% max health, just for the targeted allies as well. Leveling it up primarily boosts the healing percentage, making that team-wide burst even stronger. Got it. Strong AoE heal, crucial buff extension. Very nice. Now, the ultimate. Skill 3, perfect Soundwave. 4-turn cooldown initially. This is the big one, right?
This is the game changer. Perfect Soundwave.
Yeah.
At max level, here's what it does. First, it applies a 1-turn immunity buff to all allies.
Immunity. Let's define that again. What does it block?
Everything nasty, basically. Cannot receive any debuff effects, cannot receive cooldown increases, cannot receive turn meter reduction.
Wow. So it just completely shuts down enemy attempts to control or disrupt your team for that turn.
Precisely. It's proactive protection at its finest. You anticipate the enemy's big debuff wave or control attempt, you pop this, and nothing happens to your team. Huge.
That alone sounds incredible. But it heals too, right?
Oh, yes. After applying immunity, Lingluo heals all allies twice. Each heal is for 14% of their max health, so that's a base 28% max health heal for everyone.
Solid burst heal on top of the immunity. But here's the really clever part. There's a scaling mechanism. For each buff the target ally already has, that healing effect increases by 20%, up to a maximum of 60% extra healing.
Get out! So if your team is loaded with buffs from other sources...
She heals them for significantly more. It encourages synergy. Teams with lots of buffs make her ultimate ridiculously potent in terms of raw healing output.
That's fascinating. Rewarding good team setup and leveling this one.
Increases the healing, increases the bonus per buff, and crucially, at max level, it reduces the cooldown by 1 turn, down to 3 turns.
Oh, that cooldown reduction is massive for an ultimate like this.
Absolutely. Makes her most powerful defensive tool available much more frequently. It's a critical upgrade.
Okay, wow, that's quite a skill set. Consistent single target utility, AoE healing with buff extension, and a massive defensive ultimate with scaled healing.
Exactly. It's an incredibly cohesive package.
So bringing it all together then,
Yeah.
how do these skills define her role? What's the big picture?
The big picture is Lingluo is a masterclass in layered support. She provides consistent healing and problem-solving with her Skill 1 Cleanse or Hot. She offers broad recovery and strategic amplification with Skill 2's Buff Extension. And she delivers ultimate proactive defense and potentially massive burst healing with skill 3.
She covers so many bases.
She really does. She's not just a heal bot. She cleanses, she prevents debuffs, she extends advantages, she offers both sustained and burst healing. She's a full-spectrum support engine.
That definitely paints the picture. Okay, so we understand her core stats and skills, but investing further into her, getting those duplicates for prowess levels, that enhances her even more, right? What do those bring?
Right, the prowess levels. Think of these as gradual power-ups that really solidify her role and make her even more reliable. They're quite impactful, especially cumulatively.
So walk us through them. P1.
Prowess 1, or P1, gives a straight 5% increase to her basic attack, defense, and health. Just a nice foundational boost. Makes her a bit tougher right off the bat.
Okay, solid start. P2.
P2 is a big one for her core function. Healing done plus 10%.
Oh, wow. Just a flat increase to all her heals.
Exactly. All her healing skills just become 10% more effective, super valuable, directly boosts what she's there to do.
Can't argue with that. P3.
P3 is another round of the stat boosts. 5% more basic attack, defense, and health, continuing to make her more resilient.
Building that survivability. And P4.
P4 grants effect resistance plus 12%.
We talked about how important that is for supports, resisting control.
Precisely. This adds another layer of reliability, helping her avoid getting locked down and ensuring she can keep supporting the team. Very important upgrade.
Makes sense. And finally, the big one, P5.
Prowess 5 gives two things. Increases damage dealt by an additional 10%. Nice little bump, but not the main event. More importantly, it decreases damage taken by an additional 10%.
Okay, so better damage, but also significantly tougher herself.
Exactly. That 10% damage reduction further bolsters her personal survivability, making her even harder for enemies to take down. It's a great capstone prowess ability.
So looking at all 5 prowess levels together, they consistently make her tankier, boost her healing, and increase her resistance.
That's the theme. They enhance her staying power and her core effectiveness. Each level makes her a more reliable, more potent support unit. It really pays off to invest in her prowess.
Okay, so her kit is amazing, her stats are solid, her prowess levels make her even better. What does this mean for her place in the meta? Where does she rank? Let's talk performance ratings.
Right, let's put some numbers on it, or tiers rather. And Lingluo performs exceptionally well, especially in PvE content.
Okay, break it down for us.
Generic PvE like story mode, standard dungeons. T0, best in class.
T0, okay, top of the pile. Aurora content.
Also T0. Her healing, cleanse, and especially that immunity are just invaluable there. Shuts down so many mechanics.
Jokey dokie.
T.5, still absolutely top tier, maybe just a hair behind the absolute perfect pick for some specific strats, but phenomenal nonetheless.
Terramaton.
T0 again, great against those specific boss fights where her kit shines.
Union bosses, Phantom, those long fights.
T0. Her sustain and protection are perfect for endurance battles, keeps the team going.
Okay, so basically T0 across the board in PvE.
And she enables certain strategies really well. We mentioned stall comps before. Teams that aim to win through attrition, she's amazing there. Think pairing her with someone like Tiamat, allowing Tiamat to stack up her unique buffs turn after turn while Lingluo just keeps everyone alive indefinitely.
Sustain for days, enabling those slower, powerful strategies.
Exactly.
Okay, that covers her immense strengths. But no character is perfect. We need to talk about the limitations, the cons. What should players be aware of?
Absolutely crucial to understand the weaknesses. Lingluo's biggest one is straightforward. She has absolutely zero built-in damage mitigation tools.
Meaning?
Meaning she cannot add shields, defense buffs, or any kind of proactive damage reduction to the team. She can only recover health that has already been lost.
Okay. So she's purely reactive when it comes to damage.
Precisely. She waits for someone to get hit, then she heals them. She can't stop the hit from landing or reduce its impact beforehand.
And the implication of that is?
It leaves her and the team vulnerable to one-hit nukers. If an enemy can deal enough damage in a single blow to wipe out an ally.
Lingluo can't prevent it. She can only heal afterwards, assuming the target survives.
Exactly. If they get one shot, her healing doesn't matter. She lacks that proactive defensive layer that shielders or damage reduction buffers provide.
That's a key vulnerability to keep in mind. Are there specific counters, too, debuffs that shut her down?
Yes. Players need to be really careful about enemies that inflict wound or passive block.
Wound, that reduces healing received, right?
Correct. Directly counters her primary function, makes all her heals less effective, very dangerous for her.
And passive block.
That shuts down her Rockstar, passive on skill 1. No cleanse, no whale prayer application. It removes a huge chunk of her utility.
Ouch. So those are direct counters to her core kit.
Absolutely. You need to be aware of enemies that bring those debuffs. It's interesting, isn't it? Her massive strengths in healing and immunity create these specific weaknesses around mitigation and susceptibility to certain debuffs.
Requires careful team building and play to cover those weaknesses.
Exactly. Maybe pair her with a shielder or be ready to cleanse those specific debuffs quickly.
Okay, so to recap the pros and cons concisely. Pros: insane amounts of healing, game-changing team-wide immunity, and that passive debuff cleanse.
Yep. Cons: zero damage mitigation, purely reactive healer, vulnerable to one-shots and specific debuffs like wound or passive block.
Got it. A clear picture of her strengths and weaknesses. Okay, let's unpack this next part. We know her skills, stats, pros, cons. Now, how do we actually build her? How do we equip Lingluo to maximize all that potential, especially for PvE, where she dominates? Let's talk shells and modules.
Right, the gear. This is where we translate all that understanding into practical choices. And yeah, we'll focus primarily on PvE builds, as that's her strongest area. Let's start with shells, the big defining piece of equipment.
What are the top contenders?
Okay, one excellent choice is Artisan. What this does is give Lingluo herself a huge chunk of extra defense, making her super tanky. But it also applies a pretty beefy shield, scaling off her defense, to both herself and the ally with the lowest HP. Lasts for 2 turns.
Ah, so it adds that missing piece, some proactive protection.
Exactly. It directly addresses her weakness by giving her a way to mitigate incoming damage for herself and a vulnerable teammate.
Right.
Great for survivability.
What's the catch?
The main downside is build restriction. Using Artisan often means you cannot fit a full 6-piece Speed Inferno module set alongside it, which can limit your absolute maximum speed potential. You have to weigh that shield against raw speed.
Trade-offs, always trade-offs. Okay, what else?
Next up, Gigabyte. This one is all about turn meter gain. Every 3 enemy actions, Lingluo gains a significant chunk of turn meter, up to once per turn.
So it helps her keep up with fast enemies.
Precisely. In PvE content, with lots of fast mobs or bosses taking multiple actions, Gigabyte helps Lingluo cut in and get her turns more frequently. It's great utility for keeping pace. Also decent in PvP for cutting into enemy turn orders.
Downsides.
It loses value against single slow enemies, obviously. And again, like Artisan, it usually prevents you from using a 6-piece Speed Inferno set. You're trading that specific module slot for turn meter gain.
Gotcha. Option 3.
Jackal Guard. This is a really popular top-tier choice for her. After Lingluo takes her turn, it does a small follow-up attack, but the important parts are: it applies a speed buff to Lingluo for 3 turns and instantly increases her turn meter by 25%.
Whoa. Self-speed buff and turn meter. That sounds amazing for cycling.
It is. It lets her take turns much, much faster, especially if your team doesn't already have a reliable speed buffer like Lily. It allows for great speed-based module combinations, too.
The downside must be
its value diminishes significantly if you already have that speed buff covered reliably by another teammate. The buff won't stack, so you lose a major part of the shell's benefit. But if you don't have that buff covered, Jackal Guard is fantastic.
Makes sense. Is there an early game alternative for that speed buff effect?
Yeah, good point. Early on, Black Flag is a lower rarity shell that provides a similar, though weaker effect speed buff and turn meter advance. It's a decent substitute until you can get Jackal Guard.
Good tip for newer players. Okay, one more main option.
Supernova. This one is purely focused on maximizing her healing output. Before Lingluo acts, it empowers her, increasing her healing effect by 35% for 2 turns.
More healing.
Loads more healing.
Yeah.
And there's a bonus. If the target she heals is below 75% health, Supernova also applies an extra 1-turn heal over time effect.
So it's for situations where you just need maximum raw healing throughput.
Exactly. If your team is really struggling to stay alive or you need to overcome healing reduction mechanics like Aurora's Cursed Shield, Supernova pumps out huge healing numbers.
Yeah.
It's more actively focused on the healing itself than the other options.
Okay, so Artisan for shields, Gigabyte for turn meter against fast enemies, Jackal Guard for self-speeding, and Supernova for max healing. Interesting choices.
Yeah, and each forces you to think about your module setup differently too, depending on which Inferno sets they allow or prevent. It really makes you consider the overall build strategy. We'll have the specific module set recommendations for each shell listed out for you to check.
Perfect. Now, beyond those main PvE choices, you mentioned specialist shells, particularly for PvP. What are those about?
Right, the niche picks. These offer unique, powerful effects that really shine in specific, often PvP-focused scenarios. They add another layer of tactical options.
Like what?
First, there's Amber. This is the cheat death shell. Once every 6 turns, if Lingluo would be defeated, Amber saves her, recovers 60% of her max health, and puts her into an iced state for 1 turn.
Iced state.
Yeah, it makes her immune to turn meter reduction, debuffs, and buffs, but also gives her a massive plus 200% defense boost. Basically, she survives a killing blow and becomes temporarily invulnerable, but also unable to be buffed. It's incredibly strong in PvP for surviving burst attempts.
The literal second chance. Okay, what else?
Alicorn. This one is about self-cleansing and resistance. Before Lingluo acts, if she has any debuffs, Alicorn dispels up to 2 of them. Then it increases her effect resistance for 2 turns, scaling up based on how many debuffs were dispelled. It has a 4-turn cooldown.
So it helps ensure she gets her turn off, even if the enemy tries to control her first.
Exactly. Great PvP tech against heavy control teams. Helps Lingluo resist or cleanse opening stuns or silences so she can get her immunity or heals out.
Makes sense. And the last specialist one?
Lighthouse. This triggers reactively. If Lingluo takes a big hit, more than 25% of her max health in one go, Lighthouse heals her for 25% max health and boosts her turn meter by 25%. It has a 2-turn cooldown.
So it helps her recover from bursts and get back into action faster.
Yep. Strong personal sustain and turn meter boost. Mainly valuable in PvP, where those big damage spikes are common. Helps her bounce back quickly.
Okay, so Amber cheats death, Alicorn cleanses pre-turn, Lighthouse recovers from burst. Very situational, but powerful tools.
Exactly. They offer specific answers to common PvP threats, adding to Lingluo's versatility if you choose to use her in that environment.
All right, that covers the shells. Now let's dive deeper into the modules. These are the smaller pieces that really fine-tune the stats and add set bonuses. Talk us through the key module sets for Lingluo.
Right, modules. This is where you really get into the nitty-gritty of optimizing her stats and getting those powerful set bonuses. Let's look at the most relevant ones, starting with the big 12-piece sets.
Okay, what are the main 12-piece options?
First, Time Weave. At 6 pieces, it gives effect accuracy. At 12 pieces, it gives more effect accuracy, AD. Importantly, a 35% chance at the start of her turn to reduce the cooldown of all her skills by 1 turn.
Whoa, cooldown reduction chance on everything? That sounds amazing for supports.
It is potentially very powerful. More ultimates, more skill 2s. But there's a big consideration. Going for 12-piece Time Weave means you cannot use the 12-piece Swift Rush set, which is the primary speed set.
Ah, the classic dilemma, cooldown reduction versus maximum speed.
Exactly. Often you'll see builds compromise, maybe running 12-piece Time Weave with an 8-piece Swift Rush and a 6-piece Inferno set to try and get the best of both worlds. But it's a strategic choice.
Okay, speaking of which, Swift Rush.
Swift Rush is the king of speed. 4 pieces give 8% speed, 8 pieces give a total of 20% speed, and the full 12 pieces give a massive 35% speed boost.
Just raw, unrelenting speed.
Pretty much. This is the go-to for most supports, including Lingluo, because, as we've hammered home, speed is just so critical for her. Faster cycling, getting turns first. Swift Rush delivers that better than anything else.
Hard to argue with pure speed. Is there another 12-piece set worth mentioning?
Bloodbath. This one is more defensive. 6 pieces give effect resistance. 12 pieces give more effect resistance AD, a unique anti-burst effect. When damage taken in 1 turn exceeds 20% of her max HP, the excess damage is reduced by 55%.
Okay, so it specifically mitigates huge, potentially one-shotting hits.
Exactly. It's primarily a PvP set used to counter burst compositions. Much more niche in PvE, but could have uses against specific bosses with massive single-target nukes.
Got it. Time Weave for cooldowns, Swift Rush for speed, Bloodbath for anti-burst. Now what about 8-piece sets?
Good options here too. You can, of course, run Swift Rush as an 8-piece set, getting that solid 20% speed boost. This is often enough for PvE, especially if you do want to incorporate that 12-piece Time Weave. It's a common and effective compromise.
Okay, 8-piece Swift Rush for a good speed baseline. What else?
Strive. 4 pieces give defense. 8 pieces give more defense AD, advance Lingluo's turn meter by 10% after she gets attacked.
Oh, interesting. Turn meter gain when hit.
Yeah. In PvP, it helps her catch up. If the enemy team is faster they hit her, she gets turn meter. In PvE, against bosses or mobs that attack frequently, it's another way to boost her turn meter gain and get more actions. Very strong specialist option.
I can see that being useful. Another 8-piece.
Bulwark. 4 pieces give HP. 8 pieces give more HP A&D grant immunity for 1 turn at the start of a wave of battle.
Start of battle immunity. That sounds like a direct counter to opening control moves.
It is. Primarily a PvP tech to shut down those first turn lockdown strategies. More niche in PvE, but could be useful in specific fights where you absolutely need to resist debuffs right at the very beginning.
Okay, Swift Rush for speed, Strive for TM on hit, Bulwark for opening immunity, finally the 6-piece Inferno sets.
Right, these often come dictated by the shell you choose, but the main ones to know for supports are Swift Smite. 6 pieces give speed plus 15% and effect accuracy plus 20%.
Speed and accuracy. Solid combo.
Very solid. It's often the go-to because it's available on many top-tier support shells, like Jackal Guard. And the stats are universally useful for supports like Lingluo. Speed is always good. Effect accuracy doesn't hurt, even if she doesn't apply debuffs herself. It's just part of the package.
Makes sense. The other main one.
Guard. 6 pieces give healing effect plus 12% and effect resistance plus 20%.
Okay, so this one leans into pure sustain and defense, no speed.
Exactly. You might choose this if your shell forces it, or if you're intentionally deprioritizing speed in favor of maximum healing output and resistance.
Yeah.
Maybe for a super tanky build, or if you're getting enough speed from substats and Swift Rush pieces already. It's the sustain-focused alternative to Swift Smite.
Got it. Swift Smite for speed accuracy, Evil Guard for healing resistance, lots of module options to mix and match depending on the shell and the goal.
Absolutely. It allows for a lot of fine-tuning.
So, with all those shells and modules laid out, let's boil it down. What are the absolute best statistics we should be hunting for on Lingluo's gear? And how should we prioritize her passives and skill leveling? This is the final layer of optimization.
Right, putting it all together into concrete stat goals and priorities. This is crucial for getting the most out of her.
So, main stats on the gear. Slots 1, 2, and 3. What are we looking for?
For Lingluo, on all 3 of those main stat slots, your primary goal is survivability. So you want health percentage equal to defense percentage.
Both equally good. Mix and match.
Pretty much. You want a good balance of both to maximize her effective HP pool. Remember, she needs to stay alive to do her job, even if her heals scale off the target. So beefing her up with HP percent and def percent is key.
Okay, HP percent and defense percent on the main slots. What about substats? Where's the real priority?
Substats are crystal clear. Priority number 1, by a mile, is speed. After that, you want health percentage equal to defense percentage, and then finally flat health equal to flat defense.
Speed above all else.
Speed above everything else for substats. We've said it before, but it bears repeating. Speed is the most important stat for any healer. It dictates how often they act. More turns, more healing, more cleansing, more immunity. Maximize speed wherever you possibly can in those substats.
Right. Then focus on HP percent and defense percent for more survivability.
Exactly. Boost your own durability so she can withstand focus fire and keep the heals flowing. Flat stats are okay if they roll high, but percentage stats generally give more value.
It feels slightly counterintuitive to focus so much on her survivability when her heals scale off the target, but it makes sense she has to be there to cast them.
Precisely. It's about ensuring the healer's uptime. A dead healer provides 0 value, no matter how strong their heals theoretically are. So speed first, then personal tankiness. That's the mantra for Lingluo's stats.
Okay, clear priorities there. Now, what about those specific passive slots on the shell gear? They offer more specific bonuses. How do we choose those?
Right, the shell passives. These offer some nice extra customization. Slot 1 is generally about stats. You'll follow similar priorities. Health percentage flat, health defense percentage flat defense.
Yeah.
Pick the one that best complements your overall build and gives you the biggest survivability boost.
Okay, more survivability. Slot 2.
Slot 2 is critical. The absolute best choice here is speed. Flat speed on this slot is incredibly valuable for any healer. Get speed here if you possibly can.
Speed is king again. What if you can't get speed right away?
If you're still farming or don't have the ideal piece, Healing Done is a workable alternative in the meantime. It directly boosts her output. But long term, you really want that speed in slot 2.
Got it. Speed is the goal, Healing Done is the placeholder, and slot 3.
Slot 3 offers a choice between offense support and pure defense. You can go for damage, synergy.
Synergy, what does that do again?
Synergy allows Lingluo to boost the damage dealt by allies she heals. So just by doing her job, she indirectly increases the team's overall damage output. It's a great way for a healer to contribute offensively without actually attacking.
Nice utility. What's the alternative?
The alternative is damage taken, defensive stance. This simply reduces the damage Lingluo herself takes, making her even tankier.
So choose synergy if you want her to help boost team damage. Choose defensive stance if you just need maximum personal survivability for her.
Exactly. Depends on whether you need more damage amplification or just a more unkillable Lingluo. Both are valid choices depending on the team and content.
Okay, that covers the passives. Finally, skill priority. For someone building Lingluo from scratch, what order should they level her skills in for the biggest impact?
Good question. There's a pretty clear recommended order to maximize her effectiveness efficiently. You want to go level 5, skill 1, level 5, skill 3, level 5, skill 2.
Skill 1 first. Why that one?
Because skill 1, Whirlpool, is her bread and butter. Maxing it first gives you the highest chance for that crucial pre-heal cleanse or whale prayer application. Plus, better base healing on an ability you'll be using constantly. It provides immediate, consistent value from the start.
Makes sense. Then skill 3, the ultimate.
Yes, skill 3, perfect Soundwave next. Getting it to level 5 is critical for that one-turn cooldown reduction. Bringing that amazing immunity and burst heal down to a 3-turn cooldown significantly increases its availability and impact, especially in longer fights. It's her most powerful defensive tool.
Right. Get the big cooldown reduction, and skill 2 last.
Skill 2, Echo Symphony last. While the AoE heal and buff extension are great, maxing skill 1 gives more consistent utility early on, and maxing skill 3 provides a massive defensive power spike with a cooldown reduction. Skill 2's benefits scale well, but the immediate impact priorities lie with 1 and 3, so you max it last to round out her kit.
Okay, so max the reliable basic utility first, then max the game-changing ultimate for the cooldown reduction, then finish with the AoE support skill. Makes perfect sense.
That order ensures you're getting the most impactful upgrades as you invest resources into her.
Perfect.